Let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're exploring a truly fascinating story set deep within the lush, green, beautiful Sundarban jungle. And this isn't just some simple fable. It's actually a profound look at how entirely different mindsets approach a journey, tackle a challenge, and ultimately find success. Unpacking these contrasts makes the takeaways incredibly clear. So get comfortable and let's jump right into the dynamic world of two very different best friends. So let's look at the absolute perfect contrast between our two main characters here. On the left, we've got Chiku. He's a monkey, naughty, exceedingly clever, but absolutely defined by his hastiness. He's the kind of guy who spends his entire day impulsively bouncing from one tree branch to the next, snacking on sweet fruits without a second thought. But then, on the right, we have his best friend, Rony the rabbit. Rony lives in a little hut at the base of the trees. He is wise, grounded, and above all else, deeply patient. Their friendship is famous throughout the jungle, but man, their approaches to life are literally night and day. Chiku is always in a massive rush, while Rony handles everything with careful thought. All right, bringing us to a new map and a journey where a sudden discovery changes absolutely everything. And that discovery comes in the form of a hidden map pointing straight to the legendary Garden of Sweet Fruits. You can practically feel Chiku's bounding energy right here. He's literally jumping for joy. He sprints over to Rony, completely consumed by the idea of tasting fruits they have never even seen before. Chiku's mindset is entirely locked onto that immediate reward, right? His logic is basically, if we don't sprint there right this very second, someone else might beat us to it and eat all the good stuff. There is zero room for planning in his head. There is only the overwhelming, burning urge to go right now. But okay, notice Rony's reaction to the exact same information. Instead of getting completely blinded by the hype, Rony takes a step back and looks at the reality of the map. He correctly points out that, hey, this path actually looks incredibly long and really difficult. He gives some rock-solid, practical advice: wait until tomorrow morning, get an early start, and most importantly, let's pack some food for the trip. But does Chiku listen? Of course not. He totally brushes off this incredibly sound advice, just laughing it off. And Rony, well, simply out of pure loyalty to his best friend, he actually agrees to tag along on this crazy, unprepared adventure. If we lay this whole thing out chronologically, you can really see the tension building up. They start their journey in the morning, right after finding the map. Then, bam, by the afternoon, the weather turns and a sudden violent storm hits. By the time evening rolls around, they find themselves trapped and, frankly, starving. And it isn't until the following morning that they finally reach the garden. Seeing the sequence laid out like this really drives home that this wasn't just some quick sprint. It's a grueling, full-day trek that requires serious endurance. And that is the exact thing Chiku is completely unprepared for. As they set off in the morning, Chiku's impatient nature just takes the wheel, leading to a massive, massive mistake. Because he's so hyped to get to this legendary garden, he just sprints way out ahead of Rony. Anytime he finds small fruits along this unfamiliar path, he takes one bite, eats half of it, and carelessly tosses the rest away. Rony keeps yelling out to him, trying to warn him that they're on an unknown path and shouldn't waste food. They might actually need those very fruits later. But Chiku just laughs it off, totally convinced there's going to be an endless buffet at their destination. He is literally sacrificing his current guaranteed resources for a totally unverified future reward. Which brings us to being a true friend in the storm. Because when the weather turns, the entire vibe of their adventure flips completely upside down. So dark, heavy clouds suddenly roll in. Fierce winds start howling, and a torrential downpour just unleashes on them. The jungle path instantly turns into this thick, slippery mud, forcing our two friends to huddle underneath a massive rock for shelter. With evening falling and the rain stubbornly refusing to let up, a really tense question pops up. What exactly is a starving Chiku supposed to do now? He looks around their rocky shelter, and there are absolutely no fruits to be found anywhere. And then the crushing realization hits him. In his wild rush that morning, he threw away all of his food. He looks over at Rony, tears in his eyes, fully realizing that his impatience has left him completely empty-handed. But right here, this is the beautiful payoff of preparation. While Chiku is sitting there completely despairing, Rony just smiles and quietly unties a little bag from his back. And what does he pull out? The carrots he wisely packed before they even left, and, get this, the exact same half-eaten fruits that Chiku had been carelessly chucking on the ground all morning. Rony had been quietly walking behind his friend, picking up the wasted food, knowing they might need it. And without a second of hesitation, he generously splits all of this food with his starving friend. This is the absolute emotional climax of their journey. As he's eating the food his friend saved, tears well up in Chiku's eyes. He gives this incredibly heartfelt apology. He finally grasps the real, heavy cost of his impulsive behavior. He openly admits that if he had just listened to Rony's wise advice and hadn't rushed blindly ahead, they wouldn't be suffering like this and perfectly good food wouldn't have been wasted. And Rony, being the absolute legend of a true friend that he is, simply holds Chiku's hand and tells him that a real friend helps out in times of trouble. Together, they safely ride out the rest of the night. Finally, we arrive at success and the core lesson of patience, reaching the goal, but this time with a totally new mindset. Because as morning breaks, the storm clears, and they actually make it. And wow, the Garden of Sweet Fruits is totally real, and it is even more stunning than they imagined, just packed with the sweetest, juiciest fruits they've ever seen. But the biggest revelation here is Chiku's complete transformation. Instead of wildly ripping fruits off the branches and chucking half away, look at his new approach. Step 1, he carefully and deliberately picks the fruits. Step 2, he immediately shares them with Rony. And Step 3, this is the real game changer. He actively saves some for the next day. Chiku has completely ditched his hasty habits. He is now practicing real care and preparation. So what does this all boil down to? It's all about patience. That ability to accept or tolerate delay and difficulty without just reacting hastily. Throughout this whole explainer, haste was absolutely the villain, right? It wasted their resources and left Chiku totally vulnerable to the storm. Patience, on the flip side, was the ultimate remedy. It was Rony's patience in packing, his patience in gathering the dropped food, and his patience during the storm that literally ensured they both survived to actually see the garden. Ultimately, the core lesson we pull from this is crystal clear. Haste always causes harm. When you just rush blindly toward a goal and ignore wise advice, you leave yourself completely exposed to the storms that are inevitably going to come your way. So, I want to leave you with this to chew on. When you're chasing your own goals in life, are you rushing through your journey like Chiku, just carelessly tossing aside your resources? Or are you preparing, anticipating the long road ahead, and moving forward with the quiet wisdom of a Rony? Definitely something to think about as you navigate your own paths. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.